Welcome to Retech, and today we're going to talk about a portable machine, a laptop, sort of a kind of luggable variant. And this comes from a company that's probably more well known in Europe and more well known in the UK than probably a lot of other parts of the world, and that company is Amstrad.
The new Amstrad Portable PC is industry standard compatible. Use it in the office or on the move, or to send information back to the office from home via the phone. It means a lot less legwork. The Amstrad Portable PC from £399 plus VAT. Amstrad, computers for every Tom, Dick and Harriet.
Now, as you can kind of see from the advert, it's a little bit on the cheesy side. Maybe it gives an impression of products that maybe aren't the best quality in the world, and it probably gives an impression of products that are kind of erring on the side of mediocrity. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. And almost certainly, as you can tell, I'm not a massive fan, really, to be honest, and there are reasons behind that. And I think one of the biggest reasons is that they never innovated. They kind of made products that appealed to maybe cost-conscious buyers, maybe, or they appealed to a segment of buyers who weren't massively into things. And what I mean by this, so they either weren't into the hi-fi products that Amstrad used to sell. They really wanted something that looked the part, sounded the part, was relatively low cost and did the job. And that's really what most of the Amstrad products kind of did. Now, there are a couple of exceptions, one of them being the CPC computer, the 464, which wasn't a bad machine overall, despite it being an Amstrad model. But today we're going to look at this portable computer. I've had it for a while, and it's, to be honest, it's in good condition. It's one of the nicer ones that I've come across, but I've never really spent a lot of time with it. Now, as you can see in the background, you can see this is an Amstrad PC. It's a 1512, which has been upgraded to 1640 spec in terms of memory, etc. And I like this machine. This is a very good, unpretentious workhorse, which I'll cover maybe a little bit later. But the machine I'm going to show you today was a little bit more pretentious. It wasn't massively a workhorse, and in some instances it really didn't make a lot of sense. So let's kind of get stuck into it and see what we've got. So the first thing that kind of gives it away is this kind of Macintosh-esque carrying bag, and it's actually alright. It's probably one of the nicer bits of the product, to be fair. It's robust, it appears to be waterproof or spill proof. It's nicely put together, and it kind of fits the machine, and it allows you to carry it, lug it around basically with this big plastic protruding handle here. It's also got nice straps which are fairly sturdy, and you know, it has pockets for things like power supplies, and also additional manuals and so forth. But to kind of put it into context, okay, which is why I'm kind of a little down on this machine, not because of, you know, its technical specs or whatever. I thought it was kind of cynical in marketing, because prior to this you had machines such as the Epson HX range or HC range, depending on which country you're in, and it was a true laptop. It was a laptop that you could see was a laptop. It was a laptop that had a particular goal in mind, and for that reason it became very well established within, you know, the industry, being able to use it as a scanner for goods and services and all this kind of thing, maybe using it as a till. It was good at cataloging things, again, because it had barcode readers, and you know, it was designed for it initially. So this machine was not this machine took what was a fairly decent and competent all-rounder, such as this here, and tried to shove it in a case that weighed more than the base unit on this machine. So this is a very cynical luggable, I think, and I'm kind of hoping this is going to change my mind by looking at it from this point of view, because when this machine first launched, I was quite interested in it. I kind of really did feel that there was a benefit to having a portable machine, and it was something I kind of wanted at the time, but I ended up with one of these, and I'll kind of explain why as we go along. So let's take a good look at this Amstrad portable PC. Okay, so we got the 1512 here this way around, and I'm just going to power it on, and it shouldn't take long because there's no hard drive in this machine. And there we go. And obviously there are no batteries in it. One peculiar thing about this machine is it runs on 10 batteries. You can put 10 batteries in this machine, and basically it will then run for about 1 hour. Now this machine will use, here's a copy of MS-DOS. So if I pop this in the drive, and now you can hear it booting standard MS-DOS, and there we go, it's just MS-DOS. So if we have a look at the screen, I'll zoom in on the screen, you'll see why I don't think this was ever a viable desktop or a viable portable machine. Now the screen's not very bright. This is its best you will ever get on this machine. It's got a very dark green effect to it with dark green writing. It's kind of green on green, very much in the way that the Dragon 32 was. It uses a Super Twist LCD, and it's not fantastic. I think if you had to work with this machine as your only screen, you would probably be trying to throw this machine out of the window after about an hour or two, which is a shame because the rest of the machine is basically their 1512 desktop counterpart. It's quite a decent machine overall. It's upgradable. You can boost the memory to 640 to run most of the DOS applications of the time, and it's got a very nice mechanical keyboard. In fact, the keyboard is really nice on this machine. So it has some very good plus points. The screen, the 9-inch Super Twist LCD screen, is the bugbear. It's not, you see, this machine is a repackaged desktop PC. There's no real innovation in it whatsoever. My 1512 has exactly the same keyboard with different color caps on it, and it feels exactly the same. So they are kind of comparable, and this would have made a really nice desktop, this machine. If you take away the screen area, you've got a nice desktop computer, which is good because you can plug in a CGA monitor into this machine. So really it's not a bad overall machine. It's kind of spoilt a little bit because you have some very good quality parts on it. Like the plastics are generally okay, they're pretty robust. They haven't faded, they haven't yellowed, and it looks quite nice. It gets let down by this flexible ribbon cable, which could have been a standard ribbon cable, which would have lasted a lot better, because this is one of those cables that you find in a +4 or a ZX Spectrum, and they do crack. And I'm surprised this one hasn't started going yet. So if you get one, check that that's working, because you cannot get those very often, and you'd have to then make up your own cable and solder it into the header, and that means dismantling the keyboard and the case and basically doing a lot of work to get this keyboard to run again. But the machine itself, spec wise, wasn't too bad. But I'll just give you a quick rundown of this machine. The Amstrad PPC was Amstrad's way of making the cheapest portable PC that he could muster, in the same way as this 1512 was the cheapest desktop PC that you could actually buy at the time. But it's despite this, and also in spite of this, the LCD was the Achilles heel. It was quite poor, but the machines generally came up fairly well spec'd. They had single or twin floppy drives, or you could have had a small hard drive of 10 or 20 megabytes. You could plug in a CGA monitor into the back of the machine because there was already a port for that, and it would have made a nice desktop PC. And as I mentioned, 10 C-cell batteries would give it approximately 1 hour of life if you wanted to use it as a portable machine, which I very much doubt anyone really did, apart from the initial kind of novelty bit. So this machine was built in 1988, and it's got a 102 key mechanical keyboard. It uses an NEC V30 CPU which runs at 8 megahertz. It has 512 or 640 kilobytes of RAM depending on which model you have, a 16K ROM, and its text modes are 40 by 80, which, you know, on a Super Twist LCD you could kind of just about manage that. The graphics modes were 320 or 640 by 200. Again, that's pushing this little panel really, and it's a monochrome kind of green, but it originally had 4 or 16 colors with an external monitor. So again, you improved the machine by adding an external monitor. The stand was a beeper speaker which you heard on power up, and it weighs about 6 kilograms, so it's not a light machine. The operating system's either MS-DOS 3.2 or 3.3, that's what it was shipped with. But it run Gem QDOS 2, which was a menu-driven interface. It also had a Centronics interface built in, which was an RS-232 version of that interface. So it was reasonably well spec'd up, and it was a reasonably nice model. But the execution into a portable or a luggable or a transportable, as they would proclaim it to be, wasn't brilliant. And you know, I kind of think that they really missed the mark a little bit with this machine, although it did sell relatively well, and it did complement their desktop units. But out of the two, I would have still gone for the desktop unit. Having seen it now and having actually taken it out of the bag after all of these years, and it still powers up, it still runs, it's still nice to look at, it still has all of the features that it had when it was launched, it hasn't yellowed, it's pretty sturdy. I can see where it would have been an advantage to some, and also it wasn't as cost cut as some of the PCs that came on the market after this, and I can kind of see the advantage of having something you could take from place to place if you needed to do a presentation. But again, you were kind of pushing it on the LCD monitor again. It was all around this little LCD panel, which was kind of the downside for this model. But it's nowhere near as bad as I kind of initially thought it was in my preconceptions at the start of this video. But I would have still preferred the desktop, and I'm quite glad I went down the desktop route rather than going down this kind of pseudo portable route. But it's a piece of history. I will keep it nice, refurbish it where needed, I'll get some software running on it, and also I will probably find a use for it somehow, because I do like to find a use for the products that I have and the computers that I have. Okay, so we've just had a quick look at the Amstrad PPC 512, and overall it's not as bad as I thought it was. I knew it was going to be bad in terms of its screen, and I knew it was going to be bad in terms of its execution, maybe the packaging, because after all, it's an Amstrad. It's a machine that was designed around a price point and designed to get people to buy it who weren't particularly interested in computers. They literally wanted an appliance. Then this is the appliance that Amstrad wanted you to buy. Enthusiasts would not go for an Amstrad. They wouldn't buy an Amstrad PC unless they knew what they were doing. For example, the desktop side of it is completely different, because if you bought a comparable PC, it would cost you probably half as much again as buying an Amstrad version, and you could put a little bit of time and effort into it and have it doing exactly the same as the more expensive machines, but you'd have to want to do that. But with this, it was a way to build an appliance, and that's basically what it is. It's got the look and feel of a manufacturer that builds appliances, and it's not a bad thing, because it got these machines, both of these, out to the masses and enable people who wouldn't normally venture down the route of having a computer, whether you ran a small business or you were in education and you're at university, etc., and you needed one or wanted one, but couldn't go and blow twice as much on a comparable machine, where you could go out and buy one of these and be relatively happy with it. Because at the end of the day, back in 1988, you could do everything on this machine that you would still do on a genuine IBM PC, etc., or an equivalent such as a compact. So I've kind of changed my mind a little bit about these. I can now see where he was coming from, but at the time this made no real sense to me, because it was just too fiddly, and it wasn't luggable enough, it wasn't transportable enough, and it wasn't useful enough on batteries. I mean, in our best scenario, for 10 batteries was incredibly silly. Even nowadays, you wouldn't pay that amount of money to put batteries in one of these to have it run for less than an hour. It's just financial suicide, really, when you think about it. But overall, I'm really glad I've got this actually now. Really glad I've got it, because this model is in exceptional condition. There's very few marks on it. It hasn't faded. It's in good condition. Even under all of its trays, it's clean. There isn't a sign or a speck of dust on this entire machine. And I was just looking at the handle as well. The handle is actually a cream, because the bottom of the machine is also cream. So I'm blown away by its condition. I'm kind of changed my mind a little bit on this machine, and if it's lasted this long and it's in such good condition, then it couldn't be as cost cut as Amstrad made it out to be, and it's certainly not as cost cut as a lot of PCs that are around today, and tablets and laptops and so on. So yeah, so this is my personal eye-opening view of a Amstrad 512, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you see that sometimes you can make preconceptions about machines that aren't exactly correct. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe, hit the like button if you liked it. If you didn't, well, you know what to do. And I hope to see you soon on this channel. So thanks again. Thank you.